And this is a matchup that goes back a long. California will begin things. The first of two nights. Stanford and BYU is live. Out of system swings from Mix Ramanis, kept alive by Duras. And then a free ball sent over by Snooey. Back over to Ramanis. Overpass, pushed down by Hales. Nice dig by Porter. And then Hales puts it away. An eventful first point, and that's just exactly why in just a moment. Tyler Herget first serve for BYU. Nice pass by Kai Schmidt. Nice dig on the offering from Snooey. Benson from the back row. That's an aggressive attack, and Stanford eats it up. And Ryan Duras are the outsides. Moses Wagner is the opposite. That one goes long. Starters for BYU now playing libero. Tipped over, pancaked up by Herget after Duras swung at it, and then Benson just too hard over the triple. BYU with another one, 3-1.
And
Ramanis and Duras. Blocked by BYU. Snooey
on the outside.
Here's Mix Ramanis, the senior from Walnut Creek, California. Tickles the tape. Schmidt to Briette. Snooey down the line. There was a touch.
But great spot by Snooey.
Here's Briette. Hauser on the pass. Hales. Set her out. Duras try and find Snooey, and he gets the kill. John Costi hang out with John Costi, and he has family members. His uncle Bill lives here locally, and so the number of family that used to come to the matches was like 30 to 35. And he said, hey, you know, different people move. BYU TV analyst with us with women's volleyball. Her son, Ryan, plays for Stanford. Ethan plays for BYU. As that one goes out, Luke Benson. There's the sophomore, Talon Jonathan Tufunga. Briette to Snooey. Good hustle by BYU, but Snooey's going to be relied on. He's got 3 of the 4 kills so far.
Most of the kills already for Stanford, so he definitely is doing a good job producing offensively right now, but Stanford won't be able to rely solely on him this entire match.
Luke Benson cuts it hard, and he goes.
Risk that you're willing to take to miss some of those swings.
Benson down the line, right in the breadbasket as a men's head coach. Not bad, right?
Yeah, that is
7. Mix Ramanis, he just killed his life. 8-6 Cougars.
So long now, and he has that experience in leadership that BYU may have been missing during some part of this season.
Block, meaning he's up to 40. He's 3 away from passing Michael Burke for 4th. And he puts that one away. Tion Taylor, his wife Abby, played at BYU. She's now a teacher here locally. Tion with another kill.
And look at the way that Mix Ramanis kind of had Briette already loaded into his block move, giving Taylor that scene.
So Taylor with the solo block, the kill, and now an ace. He's trying to get everything.
And you don't see in the men's game many times a float serve getting an ace, but that one just gets Snooey high. He thinks it's out of bounds and just catches the end line there.
It takes a sec to get used to this court, get used to the altitude. And there's another block by the Cougars, 12-7. That one was in by about 2 feet, though. That was a tough one for Snooey. Big block by BYU, make it 3 already in the set. BYU 9th in the country at 2.4%. Thought we might have seen a timeout there by Stanford. John Costi going to ride it out with his guys. Tough pass by Snooey, Briette. High, and that's way out and off of the line judge, Kevin Willett, who took that one in the dome. 13-7.
Hey,
look out,
like,
hide your kids, hide your wife. Timeout Stanford.
Like he kind of did a good job there at trying to, oh yeah, he hit the back of his neck. He knew it was coming for him there.
Oh man, he turtled hard, like hide! 13-7, timeout Cardinal. BYU up 6 in set 1. Cougars over the Cardinals so far. Elaine Michaelis family. Elaine Michaelis passed away yesterday. We will talk at length about her coming up after set 1, so stay with us. BYU up by a touchdown now, which, by the way, Stanford is coming to Provo in week 2 to take on BYU in football. The Cardinal are going through it right now. They let go of Troy Taylor, the head coach, recently. Frank Reich put in as the interim head coach with Andrew Luck as the GM. That one's in. And if you're Stanford, that felt good for Moses Wagner because, hey, nothing's been going the Cardinal way. They are hitting triple zeros right now.
Yeah, and if you're Stanford, you're going to have to try to find any inch of space that you can outside of the BYU block. They're doing a good job putting a nice solid block up, but you're either going to have to use them high or find any area of the court that you can, like Moses Wagner just did in that swing down line.
There's Romanes. Triple up, but out. So nice job by Mix to tool it off the block, 15-8. What has BYU done so far to get a 7-point lead, or has it been Stanford unforced errors?
I think they've done a really good job defensively on the block. They've put up a really solid block. Stanford's been hitting low into that block rather than using the high hands off the block out of bounds. So they've definitely put the pressure on them defensively.
15-9. Here's Calmana Carrera, freshman from Mission Viejo, California. Tufunga hails, didn't swing fully on it. Tipped by Tufunga, nobody home. Nice read by the sophomore.
Yeah, and everyone on Stanford there was kind of on their heels, ready for a strong attack, and that was the perfect decision by Tufunga to just drop that volley over the block.
Here's Romanes. 2 kills, a block, and an assist so far. We get to Snui. Snui 4 for 7. He has 4 of the 6 kills so far for the Cardinal. Had 23 kills in that massive win against Hawaii in February. Against Menlo last week, 34 kills, 5.7 kills per set. That was amazing. Benson hitting it hard tonight. He typically does.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't see many nights where he's not the same amount of explosive and the same amount of powerful as he is every single game.
He's wearing those Jordan 36s. Those are hard to find, easy to spot. That one goes long. Good eye by Snui that time. 17-11.
And Stanford will take any break that they can get right now.
Absolutely.
Miss serve by BYU, they're going to take a breath and use that to their advantage here.
Snui off the tape. Hauser on his knees. And Benson, nice catch. I thought, here.
It didn't go down.
Pop it up.
It didn't go down and hit your monitor tonight?
Yeah, it did. Okay, so we had an incident that we still need to talk about, right? Ball's coming. I think I'm going to hit it. You're the 4-time All-American. I should just yield to you. Hits our monitor, splat, and the whole audience goes,
that caught their attention.
Yeah. But we're not the show here. The game is, you know. Kenzie, I know you still want to get some reps in here.
You know, sometimes like when that happens, you get like nervous. You don't know what to do. Like, I didn't know if I should catch it. I didn't know if I should hit it. I didn't know if I should set it, so I just caught it. I don't have the reflexes I used.
The Cardinal 2-team split last year. In night 1, Kupono Brown, the former Stanford Cardinal himself, had 26 kills on night 1. That was incredible.
There's always a little bit of extra juice when you play your former team.
You would know. Nice kill out of the middle. Luke McFall, the junior from Pleasanton, California. He was born at the Stanford Hospital, so literally born to be a Cardinal.
In his blood.
Right?
Yes.
His mom graduated from Stanford, and here he is then, 1912. Ignacio Brito, sophomore from Miami, Florida, in as a serving sub. Goes into the BYU bench. Stanford trying to dial in that serve. That's been the least of their concerns, so only 3 so far. Sometimes there's the pendulum swings between too hard and not hard enough of, hey, is this in? Are we making it too easy for these guys? BYU out in front 20-12 here in set 1. Benson, 63 miles an hour. Good chase by Wagner. Free ball over from Duras. Herget. Tufunga with the D-ball.
Their offense hasn't been able to get going, but now you kind of see that passing breaking down a little bit, making it hard to give themselves any chance.
Consistent, good blocker. You don't have a non-middle blocker usually leading the way. Stanford has played 4 quite a bit this year, so perhaps not as many reps as normal. Porter with the dig. Wagner didn't have a big approach on that. It was with some tempo, and so it was a laser into the BYU bench, 22-13. But that mustache is looking great, I got to be honest. For a place where you can't have a beard, but you have a well-groomed mustache, that is appreciated by this audience.
Oh, I'm sure.
But not by you, obviously.
Yeah, I don't really. Don't get the hype. Oh.
Herget looked for hands, and he got it. Tyler Herget. There you
hits
go.
nice and high.
You didn't think you'd be breaking down Tyler Herget's swing?
I know. Step close to the ball.
23-13. Wagner. Body language. Did BYU turn around quickly and say we didn't touch it?
Yeah.
If so, then that's probably what happened. Unless they're pathological liars. Oh, Sean Olmstead with the touch, but it was shaked out. Yeah.
We'll have to give him some heat for that.
The former libero of the 2004 national championship.
Because he's one to express his confidence in his ability still. So
Heather Olmstead just passes the ball sometimes too. Yep. Here we go. Set point. Herget. Good serve. 60 miles an hour. Wagner. Off hands. BYU in transition for the set. Romanes. Scud missile out. Set point 2. BYU has at times this year had a hard time closing out sets. Now there's not a lot of pressure in this situation. Up 10 on set point. Now 9. But there were a few matches, UC Irvine, Hawaii, USC, where BYU had set points, match points, and did not convert. Certainly a point of emphasis to try and figure that out. Tufunga, nice dig by Duras, and this is just set over. Set her out, Hauser wipes his hands, sets it to Romanes, and that goes out for the set. 25-15, BYU wins set 1. And Sean Olmstead both consulted with her numerous times in talking to both of them today. When they were, Sean was the women's coach at BYU, then went to the men. And Heather, of course, as the women's volleyball coach, tries to make sure her players, like you and others, know who she is and what she did. So the great thing is, her legacy will live on. One, in the name of this court. Every time we have a broadcast, we can mention her name here at Elaine Michaelis Court. The other is that while she did not marry and have any children, she has thousands of children. The players she had and the lives they live will go on forever. We will never forget Elaine Michaelis. Ace for Tyler Herget as BYU jumps out 2-0 to start set 2. I should mention, too, at one point, the great Carl McGowan, known for his prowess of 2 national championships with the BYU men's team, he was an assistant with Elaine for a couple years. How about that coaching staff of 2 of the all-time greats?
A dream, right?
That might be the greatest coaching staff in any sport BYU's ever had. And that includes Lavelle Edwards, Norm Chow, and those unbelievable staffs. That one goes out 3-0 BYU. The legacy of volleyball from this school with those 2 individuals who have both now passed, which is sad to say, is tremendous and felt throughout the country.
Yeah, and every young player that comes in through this program in the coming years, obviously, as you get further and further away from that, but you always should educate yourselves on where this program came from day one. And so I was only here for a semester, but like you said, Heather does a really good job at making known the legacy and kind of the steps it took to get to this point. And so every player should come through and have that great appreciation for Elaine Michaelis, because they wouldn't be here and wouldn't have gone through this experience without her.
Mix Romanes tips over for another point. We had a BYU Sports Station this morning where we talked about the legacy of Elaine. If you haven't seen her Deep Blue piece, it's on YouTube and the free BYU TV app. We had Heather Olmstead, the women's volleyball coach at BYU, Jennifer Rockwood, the women's soccer coach, in. Go check that out. It was great conversation about Elaine. We will miss her forever. Big kill. Almost got popped up again. Luke McFall with another one, 4-2. If you're Stanford, where do you start to correct things here, Kenzie?
Yeah, I think everything just stems from serve receive, right? If you can really dial in your serve receive, you can get every option on the court going, create some seams in a block to help some of your hitters have options of area on the court to hit. So everything stems from that serve receive passing. So that's kind of the first step here for Stanford.
Nico Hales with the kill. He's trying to find himself a little bit on the court. The last 5, he's hitting negative 0.73. Did have a good first night against Grand Canyon, but a little bit of disconnect the last few games in the middle. 5-2 BYU in set 2. McFall with another one. He's 3 for 3. Same 2 teams tomorrow night, by the way. Always fun to have the 2 sets. And John Costi told us He believes this is the first season where Stanford has gone to both Hawaii and BYU.
Wow.
Because traditionally, when they were in the same league, they would never do both those 2 road trips. Because with everybody else, you would do a home and road, but with BYU and Hawaii, you go and play 2. So I don't know if the budget got increased or what, but this has been a good year for
Hey, yeah,
Stanford.
not a bad gig to go to Hawaii.
And they went and won. They got a split, 6-3. Tufunga 72. Oh, Luke Benson pounded that. Stanford dug it, but out.
That would have been a momentum shifter for Stanford if that ball landed in the court there. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Briette just had his hand straight up.
That overpass, gives that ball back to BYU. You want to take advantage of that. You want to keep that ball on your side out. Give your team a chance to get some points on the board here.
If you're wondering why Keone Thim is not playing, he is available. He's healthy. It's just a different rotation, different lineup for BYU. We did see Keone a little bit last week, and perhaps we'll see him tonight. We'll see.
And at this point in the season, you need everyone. Your bodies are going to break down. Players that have been playing a lot are going to break down, and so it's important to have everyone.
Point Cougars on that one. Didn't see if it was into the net or not. BYU was saying, hey, there was a touch, but BYU ends up with a point there. 8-4. Luke Benson, 7 kills. Stanford has 11 as a team so far. Here's the senior from Newbury Park, California. Into the net. Luke is a molecular biology major, so he takes academics seriously. I think every time I talk to him, he's like, how are things going? Oh, man, I got this final coming up. I got this midterm. I got this test in this hard class. He is here for the academics. You and I were not.
You can tell there's a lot of stuff going in his mind.
Yep.
Very analytical, that's for sure.
Romanus.
Hey, what do you mean? I was here for academics.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Duh.
What?
Don't ask.
What? Academics are spelled N-A-T-E? Is that how you spell academic?
N-A-T-T-Y.
There you go. Oh, nice.
Thanks.
That was the pursuit. I know. Hales dug up. Looking for hands, and there was a touch. Nice swing by Nate Clinton off the bench for Stanford, trying to spark the Cardinal, and he gets the kill.
And
this is absolutely just a high-hand swing.
Yeah, those are the kinds of swings it's going to take from Stanford tonight to get their offensive numbers up. You cannot hit low into this BYU block.
Sophomore from Pleasanton, California. Herget Hales deep but out. Just the 4th hitting error for BYU. First in the set. BYU was 5 for 5 until that moment, and it is a 2-point set 2 here. BYU won the first set by 10. And now Nate Clinton trying to help his team come back in the win at Hawaii. Clinton had one of the best incredible dig flipper dives I've ever seen. In the air, kept a ball up. It was amazing. Blocked by Stanford. It's a 1-point set. 9-8.
And these are the kinds of ebbs and flows that we were talking about at the end of the first set. Stanford can come out and hit 400 this set while BYU hits 170, or they could go on a run here. And so that's what's great about the game of volleyball, is it's all about ebbs and flows.
That one goes into the BYU bench. It's such a curious way to score compared to most sports. In basketball, you don't say, okay, first one to win 3 periods out of the 5. No, we keep time and score and everything. And in 2001, they changed to rally scoring, so you score a point on every one. Side out would take hours and hours. They kind of change it for various reasons, right? But it's more friendly for TV. We know that it's going to be max 3 hours.
Yeah, I actually couldn't imagine playing volleyball if it wasn't rally scoring.
I mean, they had matches where hitters would have 80 swings.
Like we would play that way sometimes in practice, for a drill, and I was like, this is horrible. Like I absolutely hate that.
You were born in the right time.
Yeah, I don't.
But you were pre-NIL, so I'm not exactly sure if you were born in the right time. Maybe a few years later would have been nice, right?
I don't know. It's a weird world now. Sometimes I'm grateful I didn't play in it, and then other times I'm like, dang, I could have made more than the full-time job playing volleyball.
Ace for Mix Romanus. How about BYU with 4 now on the night from 4 different dudes? 12-9. BYU averages 1.4 per set. They are already at 2 per set so far, midway through set 2. 12-9 Cougars. Overpass again. Benson and Hales went up, and Benson got it. 13-9.
Mix is one of those players from the service line that he's not the most, you know, the highest speed that you're going to see on a serve, but he's always pretty consistent, and he can tend to go on some of these runs. He makes his serve more consistently than some other players. Okay, well,
if you believe in announcer jinx, which I do not,
I know, but
then that's on you.
Why does it always happen at the same time then?
It doesn't always happen though.
But like 90% of the time.
You just notice it.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen. Watch, this is going to be in, I guarantee. See?
Wow, good job.
Yeah.
You had a 50-50 chance.
Yes, I did. Tufunga down the line. Porter got a touch, but Tufunga bringing the heat tonight.
Yeah, and he really disguised that swing down the line well. He kind of at the last second just drops that thumb and uses the little sliver of line that was available from the block and gets that kill.
You're hitting .556 in this set, and that is just out from Hales. 8 service error for BYU. That number's a little high for the Cougars. Granted, you'll take it if you have 4 aces.
Yeah, that's the risk to reward factor. You know, you'd rather have them be aggressive, but in the best of both worlds, you could be aggressive and cut back on those mistakes.
Immediate timeout on the court. Nobody's called a timeout yet. We'll step aside, pay some bills. BYU up 15-11. Row. Stanford is a 2.01, BYU a 2.12.
It's hard.
It's hard to pass?
It's a hard skill.
Yeah.
It is.
You were an oppo that passed. A lot of oppos high. Still alive. Taylor. There have been a lot of kills by BYU tonight that were no doubters. Almost undiggable. BYU's hitting the right seams, up 5.
And look at that dive by Luke Benson. I know that Stanford was able to cover that block, but he does such a good job there diving in to take that seam away.
Tufunga goes the change up. Briette, one-hander. Wagner trying to keep it alive. Look at Hauser. And then Benson will swing on it. Stanford in transition. One-on-one block. And Wagner sees the Red Sea part.
And that's what Stanford is looking for when they can pass in system. They can set their middles a bit more, and you see that Tion jumps there with McFall, leaving that seam wide open for Wagner on the right side.
Shout out to former Grand Canyon head coach Matt Worley, now the associate head coach with the Kansas women's volleyball team, who just texted me he's watching from Lawrence, Kansas. Shout out, Matt. We miss you, man.
Matt, we always enjoyed speaking with you before the broadcast.
That'll just be on the women's side.
I know, that's fun.
Yeah, and Kansas is coming to Provo this next year. We don't have the schedule out, but BYU went there last year, so it's reasonable to think they'll be in Provo this year. 17-12, Brigham Young. Benson able to get Duras. Deep from Ramanis, but out. BYU thinks, oh, BYU point. There was touch.
And that's a hard swing, right? The set's off the net. Mix actually has to take his last 2 steps of his approach kind of behind him a little bit to the side and just swings high and gets a touch there.
Benson, 67. For the kill. You hear this from the crowd. It was a double, but if it's on your side on 1 or 2, it's okay.
Man, how different my life would have been if that was a rule.
How many more kills would you have had?
Oh my gosh, I would have had so many more assists.
Oh, you're thinking assists?
Yeah, like when you step in and, you know.
Were you called for doubles?
Not really, but I didn't have to try to get many assists.
Right. That's a good set from Tufunga. And look at Ramanis, the old 5th-year seasoned vet. Herget saying, hey, that was a good set, man.
It actually was like perfect. It was so soft coming out of his hands, and then wow.
A little bit of butter.
Mix just does a really smart shot there. Shows that he's going to hit, and then at the last second kind of swipes that off the block.
I think that set came with free breadsticks. It's like that's kind of service that kind of offers,
right?
which is pretty nice. Ian Little in the match. He had his first ace of the year last week, by the way. Herget with the block. 2 weeks ago, rather, at Grand Canyon. How about that? Tyler Herget took his hands down and it gets hit out.
We've seen that so many times this year. Like, I actually can't, like, I don't think I've ever done that in my life.
Yeah,
like,
it's I've not seen it much either, but Tyler Herget was like, nah.
But this year, like, we saw that a lot with USC.
We did.
I was like, how did they know the last second? Just like, I feel like I'd hit the net.
Seasoned vet. BYU up 7, set 2. First, it's been a lot of BYU. Won the first set by 10, up 7 now with Ian Little serving. Sister Claire on the men's team. That was 69 miles an hour. What a serve from Little. Herget hails, and Herget stumbles. They're going to say BYU, excuse me, Stanford, into the net, and it could have been under the net on that one. Perhaps that's why Herget fell over. So a comedy of errors for the Cardinal, who we've seen be very good at times this year. That one goes long. Beat Hawaii, got the split, lost night 1, won night 2. And then the next week, they lost to Masters, an NAIA team. So we've seen a real low, a real high. Masters, great NAIA team. But Stanford should beat them.
Right.
And they did not. So we've seen sort of the Jekyll and Hyde there, if you will.
And that probably has a lot to do with the inexperience that they have on the court, right? You only have 2 upperclassmen.
Ooh. That was a great play. Yeah. The reach on the block by Carrera. To your point, a freshman.
Wow, yeah, he just kind of, last minute, I don't think expected to get that. He's kind of drifting into the block and then just happened to be the right place, right time.
I teased it. I should probably pay it off here as to why Stanford has no seniors. I'll tell you in a second. Romanis into the net. I know, right? Point Stanford. So many of you know, but if you didn't know, Stanford was going to cancel the program in 2021. They knew a couple months ahead. They actually lost on this court to Pepperdine in the MPSF quarterfinals. We thought that was it. There was always a little bit of hope, John Costi told us, but they ended up restoring the program just a couple months later. Donors really came through. Alumni kept alive. And here's BYU trying to get to 22. Not best, Hauser's best pass, and Romanis gets the kill after Stanford into the net, 22-16. So they restore the program, but they weren't recruiting the future. That future in 2025 would have been the seniors.
Wow, yeah.
So they have no seniors. And at Stanford, traditionally, you don't really have a ton of transfers in to play sports. You have transfers out.
School too hard.
The academics are amazing. Speaking of amazing. Carrera with the kill. I want to go back to this, too. In the late 90s, early 2000s, BYU's athletic director was Val Hale. He said, Utah is not our primary rival in recruiting. He said it's Stanford.
Really?
Because they offer a holistic experience for the student athlete. Great academics. They have a good institute there for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Said they're the competitor.
That's interesting.
And they have several notable LDS athletes. Still, over the last couple of years. Benson detonates on that one.
Wow.
Long rally, and he said this is over. 9 kills for Luke.
If Stanford can try to slow them down a bit and limit some of those rounds of points, I think, and they can even out that number, I think this match would look a bit different.
Crowd having fun here. BYU second in the country in average attendance at 4,053. Hawaii number 1. There's 7 total teams averaging 1,000. Hawaii, BYU, 1,000 plus. Long Beach State, Irvine, UCLA, USC, and Ball State. Nicely done.
How about that? Those Long Beach State UCI matches.
Woo! Those were incredible. How about UCI picking off Long Beach State for the first time, and Long Beach State stays number 1?
Yeah, that
because everyone's like, listen, I know you lost, you're still the best.
Yeah, they're still really good. So
it's kind of Long Beach State versus the field for the Natty.
Yeah,
there are some very good teams out there. I would say it's a 5-team race for that, but Long Beach State feels like there's a gap between them and everybody else. Little net play between these two. Snooey, dug up by Benson. Herget to Gavin Chambers in the match now, who paintbrushes that one. Block was late to Snooey, and he gets it through. 23-18 for the junior.
Yeah, and Tafunga's eye work there, you can see he goes way past where the set ended up. Kind of took his eyes off that set a little too early and then was forced to lose some of that power and have to dive into that block.
Gavin Chambers thumps that one. The freshman from Corona, California. He is engaged to Claire Little, his teammate Ian Little's sister. So what's up, future brother-in-law?
That's got to be funny.
Fun and
weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, weird.
Depends how tight they are. They're about to get real close. 24-18.
Real close.
Wagner. Herget frustrated he couldn't get it up. Moses Wagner with his 6th. Snooey and Wagner combining for 12 of the 18 kills. We knew that they would be involved in that way. If you look closely, that's a magic eye right there. Snooey with the serve, hoping for a run here for the Cardinal. Tafunga loads up, goes off the block, and out for the set, 25-19. How about BYU up 2-0, hitting north of 400 in both sets.
And Tafunga does such a good job there. Those kills always feel the best when you just turn him down the line and get him off the block. And so he has done a really nice job tonight working his swing down the line.
Cougars hitting 420, 4 aces, 4 blocks. And they have won by 10 and 6 pretty comfortably here. As we chat with BYU head coach Sean Olmstead. Sean, hitting 420, up 2-0 season at the helm. BYU off the bye week, playing some good ball. And how about Cole Hauser campus at Brigham Young University, men and women's basketball. Moses Wagner, wow, bounces that one into Cole Hauser. And so whatever Stanford talked about, they're certainly fired up. They got to be fired up with, hey, we can play better after the first 2 sets, but that's a nice swing to start.
They're saying we don't need a warm-up.
Warm-up? We need a warm-up. Yegor Demon's going to have a big decision, by the way, for BYU men's basketball. Does he go to the NBA draft or not? Chances are that he goes, but there's a chance he stays. We'll see. He doesn't have to make that decision until June, by the way. 1-1. Put over by Wagner. He's got both points for the Cardinal. And if you are a fan of Stanford, that's good news. Anything with Snooey and Wagner is what you need.
Yeah, and they look like they have a little bit more of a fiery energy to them.
Yeah. Coming
out of the locker room, I think you could tell they know that they can play better. So they're pretty fired up here.
Overpass kill. Nice serve from Snooey. And then Nate Clinton put it away, 3-1. Stanford does not have the lead at all in the first 2 sets. Chambers barely got that across. Luke McFall, 3-2.
Yeah, that was a lucky swing there. McFall kind of just not pressed over the net, diving into that angle for Gavin Chambers, but was not pressed over the net at all, so went Gavin Chambers' way.
Romanus supporter, perfect pass to Briette. Snooey puts it away out of the back row. Stanford playing much better in this set, 4 for 4 swinging.
And there was nobody up for BYU. You want to think that they kind of just lost sight of Snooey back there. Maybe didn't think that he was going to get set out of the back row because there was no one up for him.
McFall at Romanus. On high hands, Clinton goes down. Romanus, or excuse me, it's Tafunga making sure he's okay. 4-3.
That is a bummer there because you've had this momentum going for Stanford and then just an unfortunate, unforced error in the net, giving BYU that point.
Good pickup there, Chambers. Clinton off the block. Red for Wagner, roofed by Benson.
Wow. And that feels good if you're Luke Benson, because it was essentially almost a solo block. Teion Taylor was up, but such a huge seam there that has to feel really good for Luke.
Gavin Chambers. at Clinton with the deep dish pizza. Taylor. Clinton, triple block. BYU with 2 blocks in the set, and they take the lead back.
And that's where the momentum is going to start to shift BYU's way. Blocks are such a momentum shifter, and when you get multiple blocks in a row like that, it's pretty defeating for the attacker.
Rehead for Wagner, big seam in the block, dug up by Herget. Wagner again, blocked by Benson. Clinton, quick down the line. He used tempo to get that one in. Nice play by Nate Clinton, whose dad, Steven, played baseball at Santa Clara, was drafted by Cleveland.
Yeah, Tafunga just didn't get all the way to the pin there, taking his eyes off the set a little too soon, not watching where the hitter is.
Oh, Hauser.
Approach.
Misjudged that one. Tafunga coming over. Porter, Briette, Moses, Wagner down the line. You heard one of his teammates saying, "Come on, Moses."
I thought that came from behind us. Maybe my perception's off.
The Prince of Egypt gets another one.
Yeah, just a nice swing down the line. Takes advantage of where the block is not.
Oh, Benson is stuffed by Briette. 7-5.
That block looked like it was kind of heading on its way out, but just happened to hit Luke Benson on his way down.
Just the 4th block by the Cardinal. They are 39th in the country in that. There's 50 teams. Tafunga avoids the ace. Benson, an angry swing into area 5. 7-6.
And from this angle that we're sitting, we had a perfect view of that good block setup, but just because of how high Luke Benson elevates it, just completely soars over that block into that deep corner.
Good offense beats good defense. Benson off the block. A couple of final scores around the NCAA. Loyola Chicago defeated Queens 3-0. Lewis beat Purdue Fort Wayne in 3. Ohio State 1-4 against Ball State. Long Beach State and UC Santa Barbara underway. Pepperdine and USC coming up later, and Lindenwood and Quincy as well. Pushed over where nobody was by Snooey. Nice play. Different Stanford team here in set 3.
Yeah, and BYU's had a hard time passing this kind of short topspin serve that we have seen the last few serves. Yeah, it's getting them out of system and getting Stanford back on the service line. Don't know if he was intentionally doing that.
8 kills for the Cardinal of the 9 points, just 3 kills for BYU. Got a couple of blocks, help things out. Cougars up 2-0, won by 10 and 6 in the first 2 sets. Sean Olmstead told us he really liked the types of swings his pin hitters were taking. They're hitting 420 after 2. Snooey off the block. Snooey again. This time blocked by Tion Taylor and Herget.
Yeah, Snooey tries the first swing down the line, doesn't work. Then he tries that sharp angle, but both swings he hit low into the block. If he would have taken one of those swings high, I think one of those would have went his way.
9-8.
Coming to you, Jerem.
No, that's not even close.
Kind of.
Nice try.
Like 5 more feet.
That's a lot of feet here.
Just trying to give you some hope.
I know. Well, I have hope in other things. Don't worry. Snooey out. 4th hitting error on 19 swings for Stanford in this set. We are tied at 9 in a must-have set for the Cardinals. Stanford now in the Big Ten in most sports. BYU in the Big 12. Yet they're still in the MPSF and men's volleyball together. 65 from Benson. Wagner through the block. As a former Oppo yourself, especially on that D-ball, your back row, you're jumping behind that 10-foot line. you're praying there's a big seam in that block, right?
It's so fun.
And how do you see the ball and the seam in the block? I don't understand the vision that you guys can have there.
You know, sometimes I'd like to say you don't. I don't know. I feel like, for me, I feel like it was just like muscle, like you just knew where to go. I don't know. I never felt like I could see the block and the ball.
You're just staring at the ball, working on your footwork, your hands. Mitch Romanes with the tip. He's a good tipper. 10-10. He's a 25% guy, probably. He lined up like he was just gonna.
And then at the last second, he kind of was like, "Oh, I probably should put my hands up," and then ended up giving Mix that kill.
Snooey. Just 3 more home matches for BYU. Tomorrow against Stanford. And they'll hit the road. And then they'll be back for Pepperdine at home. And that will do it for BYU at home this year. It's a heavy senior class, too, for the Cougars. They were hoping to make a run with this group, and they still can, but because in NCAA men's volleyball there's 7 auto bids, only 2 at-large, BYU and Stanford are not in position to be those at-large at all. They'll need to make a run in the MPSF tournament at Pepperdine in late April. Herget into the middle of the net. 12-11 Stanford. Herget started his career at Penn State. From Connecticut, Dad Todd played linebacker at BYU and then transferred to BYU, where he, before last season, made the team in December, and then by February he was the starting center. Foot fault on the serve. Yeah,
and he's just such a hard worker, and I think that's a testament to his character. Is he kind of is one of those players that will be wherever you need him, and he works hard no matter what. So he worked hard in practice and with the opportunities he got, and got himself that starting setting position.
Clinton off the block of Tufunga. Stanford and BYU going back and forth in this third set with BYU up 2-0. Great to have you with us, Jeremy Jordan, Kenzie Daly here on the BYU TV app and Big Ten Plus. Here's McFall. Luke Benson cut down by the triple. 14-12 Cardinal.
And that's a hard swing because obviously BYU's out of system. Tyler Herget only has one option. Stanford knows where they're going. You can't hit that ball into the meaty part of the block there. You got to take a smart swing. Know that everyone knows where the ball's going.
Going into the net from McFall. Correction on Lindenwood Quincy I mentioned. The Lions of Lindenwood 1-4.
Oh, wow.
That one's over. In the MIVA, which, by the way, Nikki Sandlin, the head coach of the men's volleyball team for McKendree, have had a great year. She was just named the USA U23 men's coach. Congratulations to Nikki. She's having a great year. We've had her in Provo a couple times over the years. She's an awesome coach. She actually coaches the women's team and the men's team, which is busy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, she's awesome. So congratulations to Nikki. Big fan. 14s. It's the freshman Gavin Chambers, back from his 2-year mission. Wagner going for high hands. Got it. He says he got it at least. The call is that it's out. The buzzer sounds meaning media timeout, but we will have a challenge prior to that. Wagner and the whole team are convinced they got it. It's rare that they don't get it when they all act like that.
Yeah, I feel like this was a touch, but we'll see here. Oh, yeah. Huge.
Yeah. This will switch to...
That got like 3 fingers.
Yeah. It's worth 2 points at that point. No, just kidding. Yeah, and you see the rotation of the ball as well. A couple clues there. There's Moses Wagner. Yep. That was a quick one. Shout out Daphne Nelson. I always appreciate a quick review. We got places to be. Stanford up.
This is their last chance, right? It's all or nothing in this set, so they have nothing to lose, so why not go all out?
Herget had to reach up and misses Taylor.
To try to just chuck that up to your outside. Like that.
There you go. Good effort by Porter, Clinton, Wagner.
It's a lot to carry such a heavy load, and he's been doing it all season as well, so it's good to see someone else kind of stepping in for him.
Clinton with the kill. 40 swings combined for Wagner and Snooey. 20 kills between the two of them. Here's Clinton, who has 6 kills, hitting .308. Stanford trying to get this to 4 sets. Goes out. 14 service errors for Stanford.
Yeah, and that serve didn't look like there was a ton of power behind it either, so you wonder if he kind of just mishit that and got a weird angle on the ball there.
Clinton close to the antenna, set in, reset. Snooey cuts it out.
You wonder if it's kind of the location of the set that's limiting where he can hit on the court, but you want to see him maybe try to go for a different shot.
Reed Wainwright, middle blocker, freshman, Newport Beach, California. USA U19 national team guy with a big swing there. And now we're going to see Ryan Gant come into the match in Provo. He grew up coming to camps here. Mom and dad played here. Brother Ethan's on the team. He went to Stanford, and he is in the match for the Cardinal against BYU. One of the backup setters. Kept alive. Snooey pushes over. Ramanes off the hands of Gant. 18 apiece. Amy and Jesse in the house. Gant will exit as Koski went to the bench. I told Sean and John, hey, if your Gant plays, the other has to go in.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Play each other, right?
18-18. Now, Hadley, their sister, who is between them in age, she's a BYU student. The other two siblings aren't here because they have some big volleyball matches at home they got to be there for.
Wow.
As that one doesn't get over. So they wanted to be here.
Yeah, that's fun.
But they have their own matches because that is a volleyball family.
Yes, it is.
Amy, All-American, all-timer, long-time analyst on BYU TV with us. She's great. Olympic broadcaster, by the way. Legit. Jesse, of course, an amazing player. He played high school volleyball with John Sparrow.
Wow.
USA Volleyball CEO now. 2-time national champion with UCLA, a couple times at UC Irvine. As McFall gets that one. So long history with the Gants intertwined with volleyball. They're awesome. 1919. Briette and Hauser. Romanus with his 11th. Ty Luke Benson.
Mind you, they're all like brilliant as well.
They're all very
big,
smart.
Big volleyball family, but also so smart.
Very, very smart. 2019 BYU. Cougars going for the sweep here. This one's going to bounce around. Good play by Wagner to keep it alive. It came down hot on the bottom of the backboard. Block was laid and Tufunga said, get out.
Yeah, and Moses Wagner kind of seemed a little bit disoriented there, right? Coming back after chasing that ball off the backboard and then trying to get set up and read the setter and a quick set, and definitely gave Tufunga the advantage there.
Timeout Stanford. BYU on a run to go. Tickets. Hope there are good spots still available.
Wow.
That's not real. That's fun.
That's not real.
22-19. Timeout again for Stanford. BYU on a 3-0 run at the end of the set that felt like it was mostly Stanford's. And now the Cougars acting like they have dinner plans at 8:30.
Yeah, and Stanford right now, they're, just took a timeout. Now you're icing BYU a little bit, hoping, they go back there and miss their serve, but really just trying to settle down and know that you need a few points here to kind of feel like you're in a good position to win this set.
Cougar fans enjoying this one. Nearly 3,700 in the stands. And as we mentioned earlier, the great Elaine Michaelis passed away yesterday. There were some people in the gym that did not know, as you see the bouquet in her seat. There was an audible gasp in the gym for those that hadn't heard the news. And so it was an emotional moment at the beginning of the match. As you see, this is Elaine Michaelis court. It was named such in 2005 on this beautiful Terraflex 886 wins for Elaine Michaelis over 40 years.
That's
unbelievable.
Yeah, that is.
She also coached field hockey here, softball and women's basketball, was the women's athletic director. And the Mount Rushmore, to me, of most influential people in BYU history, she is on there.
Oh, for sure.
I also put Tom Hommel, I put Lavelle Edwards, and then I'm undecided on the fourth. There are a lot of influential people, but Elaine is one of them, and by far the most influential woman in the history of BYU athletics.
Absolutely.
We're going to miss her. 22-19. Nice serve from Herget. Porter on the pass. Snooey off of Herget. This is going out.
Oh.
Good chase by Clinton. 22-20.
And Stanford needed that, right? They needed that to kind of take a deep breath, kind of let the weight off their shoulders a little bit, and now they have the opportunity to go on a run here and get a few points under the belt.
Snooey goes out, 23-20. Needed that serve in.
Yeah, you don't want to do that at this point in the set.
And here is Mix Romanis. Match high 12 kills for him, hitting .450. He's been outstanding. Ricky Schroeder, as our boy Steve Vale would say. Off the tape, pulls Briette out a little bit. Quick set to Wagner. BYU into the net. 23-21.
And that one's a bummer for BYU, right? You get a great touch off the block by Luke Benson. Gives your defense a chance to get an easy dig, and just an unfortunate error there.
Carson Kneisel, the sophomore from Arvada, Colorado. Home of one Mark Lyons, former BYU longtime radio analyst and quarterback. 24-21, set and match point for the Cougars. Out come the Sharks. They can smell blood in the water. Tradition going back a long ways. Chambers, tough pass, Briette. Little set, batted back by Tufunga. Porter high for Wagner, out of system off hands. For the match. Taylor had to just get that one over. Through the block for Moses Wagner, who points at the ground. 13 kills for him, a match high.
And he's definitely done all that he can to keep Stanford in this set, but sometimes it's not enough when it's just coming from one person. But he hopes here that he can even this setup.
He can single-handedly do it from the service line. Gets after it. Benson blocked it in. We continue. Match point number 3, and now it's a 1-point set. Keeps it in, which is operation number 1. Luke Benson puts it away. 12 kills for Luke, and BYU wins set 3 by a deuce.
Back to him, shows that trust in him. It's a good note for Luke to end this night on.
12 kills for he and Mix Romanis, as you see the emotion put out by Benson. And BYU takes down Stanford in 3. Same two teams.